All right, buddy, you're on.
All right. Okay. So I think just before we started recording, you're talking about one of the things you'd like to discuss is O1 Pro and how we're getting on with it, and then you
Yep.
had a couple of things to table. I've got an update to table, which is an update around transcriber. I've been making progress, pretty good progress actually, on an app called the Summarizer and on the Commander. There's also something I'd like to discuss around the concept of solutions, and also for the what I'm calling grinder, which is the batch commander.
We need a different
I'm
name.
also I find that name very funny, personally.
We, there's not
Which is
many
the
names I'd consider out of bounds, but that's definitely one of them.
okay. So that's my list. What's on your list?
Just to reaffirm that the number one priority is delivery of the shortest, simplest possible read-only CRM to the trucking guys.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give an update on that. I want to talk about my experience with O1 Pro. I want to talk about what I think it means for the broader ecosystem of software development and AI in general. And I'd like to table an idea for commercializing.
Okay. Since we match on the O1 Pro thing, shall we do that first? And
All
then
right, what is the name of the mode that the commander would be in while this was happening?
I
And what
think
are the
this
rules of the
is
communication?
I think this is an exchange of information. So discussion. It's not a speakeasy. It's more like a sync.
Yeah, it's right, a report.
Well, it's not even a report because we're going to go backwards and forwards. What we want to do is you
A
give me,
synchronizing.
yeah,
Okay. Shall we say commander synchronizing? Okay, and we'll stay on the topic of synchronizing until the sync is completed. So I'll go first because I was already talking. I have been hitting O1 Pro from dusk till dawn with payloads of around about the 50 kilotoken mark. I've been running it hot enough that pretty much all day, every day, at least some query is running. I've sort of gotten good at juggling the plates that kind of work requires. It's starting to feel, in a metaphor, it's starting to feel like managing a team of developers, but there's zero time between work specified and work done. And so you end up you get no break. You get all the managerial effort and the fault finding and the reasoning and the architecting is happening constantly, and it's pretty tough actually. So in a way, I'm thankful that the toil of being a software developer has not disappeared, because it means that because that's hard, it still makes it a lucrative business to be in during the short time that we have this arbitrage like ability where we can make code of very good quality faster than ever before. But when everyone catches up, there'll still be toil, and it will still be hard to do that better. Like, you can still be better than everyone else if you work really hard and you are smart and you got a lot of experience. So at least it didn't sort of level that out. I had my first hallucination that I spotted from O1 Pro. It was it's in using private data, so I can't share it. But I was asking, I just dumped in about 100 kilotokens worth of XML files and asked it to anonymize the records. and so it was dutifully writing out the anonymized versions. And one of the XML tags was called support payments, and it made it have like support, or it was some kind of funny word that a developer had chosen, and it caused there to be like three P's in a row in the tag. So it was like sup payment, and the hallucination was for 4 times out of, like, it must have generated maybe 50 kilotokens output, but 4 times it got the tag wrong, and it used 4Ps instead of 3Ps in there, and it did it 4 times without. And it's the very first. It was a hallucination that I instantly spotted, obviously, because the XML didn't pause. But that's the first time I've seen it, and I've been slamming it hard. So, and that's a pretty, I mean, that's significantly better than a human error rate if I'd asked the human to do the same task. So, all in all, looking pretty damn good, but there's a new type of toil. Over to you.
Remarkably similar. So I've been hammering it with larger token payloads from Concats,
Mhm.
and it hides output that it thinks you don't need to know, even though you've said, actually, give me this information. If it thinks, actually, you really don't need to know, a bit like a really good PA, you know, which is slightly irritating. But from the reasoning, you can see that it's considered the whole thing a transcript given over and saying, give me a 1 minute by 1 minute summary of what was talked, will end at 17 minutes, even though it's like 52 minutes. And even though I tried to pistol with it, it goes, no, you don't really need to know this, which kicked off the whole thing we texted about yesterday around how do you assess input from us and how useful it is. And it seems to be throwing out a lot in terms of output. So it tries to make the output more succinct, and sometimes more succinct than we want, because we want to stash that output for future use. But it still considers it inside of the thread. Second one is it's much harder to pistol whip.
Yeah, because we don't have sysprompt instructions, but those are there for us if we use O1 full, but O1 Pro is not in the API yet,
Yeah.
and I do believe that O1 Pro is superior to O1 even with high reasoning.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that, because things like only when I ask you for an output, I'm meaning a markdown formatted output, and you should keep on repeating. Because sometimes it just like goes, I don't think you really do want that. It's really irritating.
Well, it's good that it's got opinions. Like, like it's. I think our job is to really fall in line with it so that it works with us rather than against us. I've noticed an oddity in the way that it sort of postures itself when it does updates. Like, if it writes me a README file and I go, no, I want to drop the constraint that only one process can write to the MoneyWorks branch, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, and it goes and updates the README, but it mentions the fact that we are dropping the constraint. Like, it doesn't write the README as though it's like fixed for all time. It writes the README with some hint at what the README used to be. That's annoying. I'm like,
yes,
don't.
I'm getting that
Yeah.
a lot with the stocks. When asking it to update stocks, it
Right.
will tell me about the delta, and even then, it will give me a summary of the changes. when actually it's like just do it.
Right. Well, perhaps we're using the tooling wrong there, because the winning theme seems to be if you can get O1 to do, or O1 Pro to do the top level reasoning, and then you bring it into Cursor, then it can go through and roll it all out. Would you like to see a cool demo of that in action?
Yes, and also to reinforce what you just said, I'm doing the same thing by switching models. So previously we were talking about different sysprompts.
Right.
On the same model. I'm switching models for it's almost like a hierarchy inside a company. It's like, look, just do it, or do something interesting and
Right. So you call
use
on
it.
the dumb model when you just need things done blindly. Like there is a thing that's too smart, right? Like it can be too
Right.
smart.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
here's
So
an
you were saying,
example of what I'm gonna do here is I've just had quite an argument with O1 about the fact that how to synchronize data between the rest of the application, so the web app making changes to the data, and the MoneyWorks accounting system itself. And I've been arguing with it, being like, it keeps trying to want to use Git moves to synchronize what the changes were with what the, like, I want to have two branches. I want to have a branch where one branch is purely the view of the MoneyWorks server data and nothing else, and the other branch is what the application wants to change in the MoneyWorks branch, and then the process will look at those diffs, make the change on the server, which causes the main branch to update, and that's the only way you know that your changes are made. It never actually goes and merges those two Git branches. And it made me think, am I weird for wanting that? Like, that seems clean to me, but the bot's just like, every
I've got
every file it does at the end, it's like, and then you merge the changes branch into that. And I'm like, no.
I've experienced something similar to this one. My question is, on this thread, have you ever mentioned Git?
Oh yeah, all over the place.
Ah, right. So I've seen this in that it uses, if you mention repeatedly a thing and then ask for a completely clean slate, it doesn't do that.
You
It
can't
doesn't
get
give
a
you a clean slate.
you can't get a clean
It
slate.
no, because in this case, Git is mentioned all the way through.
Mm.
It assumes that you are a Git guy.
Oh, like you're saying that even it sort of makes it sticky. Like if it hears the word a lot and it felt like it wanted to do something a certain way, even when you tell it not to. Yeah, so I guess my gut feeling is that the quality of the output is always best on its first reply. And so I always, when I'm not getting my way, I just refine what my first prompt was and then run it again, because I often don't care about the back and forth. I really just want the first thing run again. But the issue is that that's slightly slower because it doesn't use cached tokens. And that's, it's okay when we're on flat rate. But when we start to pay for our own tokens, that's going to hurt. Plus, the performance hit is a bit bad. So it'd just be way nicer once we get access to O1 Pro and the API. It'll be nicer because we can load all the context up and be like, bang, and that's our cached tokens, and then we just can like restart what we say in there over and over until we get a response we want. Plus, use the system prompts.
I agree. And one tactic I've been using that gets reasonable results is if, say, it's assuming that you're a Git guy, you can prompt it to say, forget everything about Git. I'm not talking about Git. Because I once actually accidentally deleted its memory of a thread by saying, forget everything I said. And it promptly forgot it, which is quite interesting.
Hmm.
And so I've been getting it to forget ideas, forget anything to do with, X, Y, Z.
Forget ideas.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it seems to work. And I don't know if you want to try that as an experiment here to see if it works with you. But it's not 100%, but most of the time it
I
does.
can't imagine that working for what I'm doing, just simply because it it it's so close to what I want that it's hard to say what I want and also forget. Like the issue I'm having is because it's so close to, and probably the overwhelming weight of the internet would probably say, yeah, you should do that merge. That's what I'm having trouble holding it off of, and it maybe it's my design is bad. Maybe that's a sign that my design is incomplete, or perhaps I've tried to approach the problem with too many variables and I should have just focused on, okay, first we're going to get the MoneyWorks branch synchronized and then we're going to call that version 1 of the module. I may have been trying to do too many features concurrently without iterating up.
I've found the similar similar problem in that the commander that the NAP commander that I just committed, is much smaller. And the reason it's making it much smaller is because it gets a better result if you ask it fewer things up front.
Right, right.
If you ask a whole bunch of things, it tries to be very helpful and summarize and tell you what the diffs are and so on. But if you give it something smaller, it takes its time and thinks and does all that good pro stuff, gives you a high quality answer. And then the second prompt, you can add in what you actually really should have had in the system prompt as well inside of the process. And this is where Commander is standing at the moment.
Right. Okay.
You had another point there though. Can you run through what were your points again?
It might be a sign that you're wrong if the bot keeps steering towards some particular place. It might be better to build things up incrementally. Like I've tried to implement multiple features all at once here with this code module, and maybe that's a mistake. I should have got a simple one working and then evolved from there. Is any of that hitting the spot?
Yes. The incremental one is a shared experience where
Right.
breaking down what should be a single shot. I think it's trying to be too smart and remove information.
Yeah. I think it's our folly because this thing is so smart. We're tempted to load it with concurrent tasks, but actually it's really smart in a weird way. Like it's very good at a narrow thing, and it will talk about all these surrounding things while it's doing that one thing very well. But as soon as you try to get it to hit multiple targets, it's like it starts to get kind of shaky in a way that I've never experienced a human having that kind of mental degradation because of multiple targets. It degrades so gracefully that you almost don't notice it, but then you're like, it doesn't degrade like 4.0 where it hallucinates and makes mistakes. It makes kind of well reasoned errors, and you're like, that's still reasonable, but you did not listen exactly, sort of thing.
Yes, and that's my experience as well. It's gone beyond. The only time I've seen it hallucinate is where I've accidentally missed out definitions from Concat, and it's had to derive what a nap means, and it's gone neural
Yeah,
application,
it
that
made it
sort of
up.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've still never seen a single hallucination or error. I've never caught it out once, and I think that's remarkable. Like
Yeah, it's
4 you
not.
catch out on the like every 15 minutes you're like, oi,
Oh,
but not this one.
exactly. So I think we've moved, or Pro has moved beyond hallucinations, but
Mm.
there is a danger here because um, it sounds so reasonable and so close. But if you haven't given it the right information, or it's derived that information from its training or from your context and thread, it can it can actually go off piste, but quite reasonably off
Yeah,
piste.
reasonably off piece. So I had a go at it this earlier today about something, and then I was like, no, hang on, I'll get it to tell me why it thought that, and then it listed out, quoted the files that I gave it that said why it should use git merge, and I was like, oh, that is what the file says. That's a pretty reasonable thing, and so I had to go back and um, fix it
That's
up,
right.
right?
That's right. And on your renaming example, I've had a couple other renaming examples, but it's mostly because if there is a gap in its knowledge, I think it goes out to its training and then tries to fill it with something reasonable.
Mm, mm. Okay.
Which, with the burden then, is on the human operator
Yeah, you still got
to
to
spot
read it,
that.
eh? You still got to spot it. That's sort of the skill.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got a demo here which indicates what I think is going to be our future. Just like how there's jokes about Turing hitting the first bug, spending days on it, and being like, oh dear, I guess that's going to be our lives now. Our lives have changed a little bit, and it seems like the pattern is high level reasoning at an architectural level in a narrow scope, like in the project map file, which you see here.
Um, so where is this in NAPS CRM Monkey
MoneyWorks Sync.
Works
MoneyWorks.
Sync project map
MoneyWorks.
text? Sorry,
Ah, there.
Money works.
MoneyWorks. Money
tends
works.
to work most of the time. Yes. Right. Okay. Go ahead.
And so the repeated cycle appears to be a narrowing and a widening of the intellectual aperture of the AI. And so what you do, I think, is you come in, you get it to reason through these high level views, right? So you like state the problem very clearly in the README. So the README has like all the wrong file. Sorry, the README of the MoneyWorks Sync has like a very well laid out description of everything about this package. I included some additional information, which was the process map, which describes basically the algorithm and how the algorithm should work. And so these are like high level, well reasoned, well debated, well defined documents that express what should happen. So this is the narrowing of the aperture. And so are you holding your hand up to ask a question?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Question: is this edited at any point, or is this entirely generated?
It's entirely generated. I reviewed it, and I went through to get this. I went through maybe 5 loops, 5 prompts to get this.
Right. So by editing, really you're going back to the reasoning as opposed to going in and saying, "Oh, that's just wrong."
It's a waste of time going in there and typing by myself, because one of the minor frustrations I have is that just simply because I have to cut and paste between O1 Pro, it's easy to get your edits overwritten if you edit them by hand. Now, I'm sure that when we have tooling in place, it'll be better, but what I'm trying to sort of hint at here is that there's a workflow that I can see forming where edits doesn't really matter, and edits and the keyboard become really just a way to do very precise little snips, but the key cycle appears to be you reason about these top level documents, get them right, then you start drilling down the application of it, where you focus sort of one file at a time, one folder at a time. So, for example, I would come down and go, okay, I want to get into the tests folder, and I want to write all these tests. And so you go in and implement it, and while you're implementing, you may need to change the higher up reasoning sometimes, but ultimately the idea is you get down to the bottom and then you go, okay, done. Scope back up to the top level. You've got the working thing. Now you deal with things like issues, defects, extra features, reason at the top, and then mush it down again. And so it's this sort of inhale, exhale, inhale. It's this repeated, like, open, high level, low level, crush, high level, reason, low level, crush, and you keep looping that around and around, and that's where you get your gains from. But it starts to look like this will be my last statement, and then I'll pass over the conch. It looks like a Merkle tree almost, where you drop something at the top and then you see this digga changing as you sort of roll down the tree, and then you look at that and go, okay, and then you drop another one again and you go digga all the way down, and that's the loop I'm seeing. Over to you.
I'm seeing the same thing. So there seems to be take transcripts. There seems to be two sources of files. One that the AI never touches, and humans only ever touch, and the output. As a rule, I've not been touching any output. If the output is wrong, then I go back to the prompt, and then I.
Why do you have that rule?
Because sometimes, for example, if I'm saying, okay, so create me a new priority list and all the changes for the prompt, sorry, for the stux, it will generate a new stuck, and then I'll look at the diffs and go, no. But rather than go in and change the stux, because I know it's going to be wiped out next time, I go back up and then try and reason with the AI to get the stuck in to not do the thing that I'm spotting it's doing wrong.
Are there any cases where it would have been faster just to edit the stuck?
Yes, but next transcript, the stucks are just going to be overwritten again.
What?
So
can't you feed the stucks in and require that they be modified instead of flattened?
Yes. However, this is one of the topics I was wanting to talk about, which is actually interesting and called topics. Because this is another agenda item I don't want to go into at the moment.
Okay.
But we'll pick up on it next time. But there is a longitudinal slice that you can give to the AI that allows it to perform much better.
Because I guess the part of the work that we're doing with O1 is familiarizing ourselves with it, and to understand where there's a bit of an art to doing the edit directly versus fixing the prompt is those kinds of getting a feel for when that's right versus not, which is the same as managing a person. You know, sometimes some tasks easy to just do yourself. Definitely the top level architecture diagrams, you should do those. Some little changes, you should do those. Things like that. Right, so I'll show you this demonstration of how I'd been working that. So I got this top level project map in from O1 after a little bit of wrangling, and then I've just asked Claude 3.5 over here to modify the file system. So the file system is the MoneyWorks structure here, and I'm just simply asking it to make all the changes to the file system that this file specifies. And I'm doing it in the what's called the agent for Cursor. It can run commands and stuff as well, like it can create directories and it can do other stuff like that. But what I wanted to show you was just get a glimpse of where I think our system needs to get to, where you can watch this thing just whirring away, grinding away, as you may say, and just you can see it creating these files as it goes, um, building up the functionality, building up the following on just on the information that was given um, in this file.
Picked up the wrong handset there. Question. Um, uh, is Gemini editing and updating these files directly without you having to look at a diff? Or is
Claude is so it's the this is Claude 3.5 Sonnet, and it's running directly, creating files and updating files. I don't understand the question.
You've just answered it.
Okay.
The reason is what you've given is a file of instructions to
Yeah.
alter a bunch of other files.
Yeah, that's the
And
thing.
then
That's the
it
thing.
just does it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's beautiful. I
That's
like
the
that.
thing.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Now, obviously, it's gonna not get the code that it puts in. Like, let's just check out the MoneyWorks Syncer. So that's not right. But the point is that I'm able to use this to stub out the files, and then I'll pass those using Concat back into O1 and be like, I want to focus on this one specific file, make that file. So yeah, that's that demonstration.
That's a neat little heuristic or tactic. Okay, good. I think on your previous point, which was there is a new skill set. I think you're absolutely right. This is not simple stuff.
Nah, it's hard, man.
In fact,
It's really hard.
in some cases,
It's harder than ever
to
before.
do. If you have the discipline of only doing that background the AI loop, and you have these files, what I've been doing, and this is working well, these files I will not edit, but I won't allow the AI to edit until I've seen them. That works well. And these files, I do not allow the AI to edit. That seems to get some clarity to the whole process.
Yeah, so I guess what we'll do is we'll go around. We'll carry on what we're doing, because clearly it's faster than anything that's ever come before. Like, we are amplified now.
Oh, yeah.
But we need to we'll get I think it's a good path to get the CRM installed, because we learn so much about these processes, and then we'll capture this into a platform. If we don't do the hard yards now, we won't understand enough of what these tools need to be. So this is really hard. This is probably the hardest work I've ever done in my life. It's like a month's worth of project management done in a day, and you're like, ouch, my brain, my poor little brain.
My experience is similar. It does feel a lot like having a bunch of really keen and smart people just waiting to do exactly what you say. And I've started getting a bit more disciplined on my tabs. Just because you kick off something, it would take 2 or 3 minutes. You go to something else, kick off something else, kick off something else, and then you want to go back, and so on. And so there is a kind of human level discipline that's needed in order to actually make good progress and really grind the thing, which is interesting. The second thing is understanding what each tab, what your intention was. And so I've got this on the whiteboard at the moment. This tab, here's what I'm intending to do, because you can go back to it. Names the thread, inside of Pro, and you can go back and say, "Oh, right, that was a good idea. I need to go back there." The cut and paste thing is actually just dwindling. I'm spending most of my time in Pro, and cutting and pasting is almost like a commit. It's like, right, okay, right, I'm happy with that. Let's go over, and the commit is relatively easy. 2025-01-02. Hey, our first note of the year. Declaring goals of threads. If we state that we are trying to do, then the bot can help us work better. Yes. Yes. Signposting is really, really important to Pro. Now, question is, if we get...
Am I going to get a chance to talk? Or are you still going? You're still going?
You're conscious if you understand what I was about to say or anticipate what I was about to say.
Well, I was trying to say that I have written this little file here that represents exactly what you're talking about. The new skill seems to be that no matter, just like throughout history, no matter when, obviously after the first computer was made, but since then, the fastest computer on Earth has always been as big as a building or bigger. So it is with AI. The greatest AIs are always going to be a little bit slow, no matter what. No matter what. The frontier AI is slow. Therefore, your skill becomes, can I manage multiple plates spinning in a room effectively? One of those tactics, we're picking up many of them now. One of them is this, it would be good to actually state what the goal is of what you're trying to do so that you can sort of come back to it. You got a quick summary, you can jump back in real fast. The AI can do some things for you. But a way that I've been dealing with that in the short term is naming the thread. So there's a little bit of a bug with O1 Pro that if it's busy grinding and you name the thread, it can sort of require you to regenerate. But as a general idea, because it names the thread kind of randomly, I just been renaming it here to keep track of what it is. We can also try maybe the opening line being like, I want this conversation to be called blah, blah, blah. And then you name it in the top of the thread. Maybe that would help. Over to you.
That's a good idea. Maybe it's an idea to, because we want to also share threads, have some kind of naming convention for threads.
Nah, I don't want a naming convention.
Okay, all right, that's fine. No, over to you. I'm done with that. I was about to give a example.
Okay, great. I got a thing to show you. I'll just send this off to run while we're going. A technique that I developed is I've been generating high quality docs. So here we have MoneyWorks is actually where are we? Hold on a second, sorry. Something is wrong, okay. So here's an example of the documentation from the website of the vendors of MoneyWorks that I've got O1 to process and turn into helpful little markdown files which get included in the concat, and that's sort of the key that I've been picking up on, is that if I can pull in the right stuff, then like here's the database schema, here's more of the simplified database schema, here's like the schema of all the stuff, right? And the way I've been doing it is I've been going into I'll show you how I do it. Are you interested in how I do it?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay, so I have found that the best way is to go into whatever it is that you're trying to convert, and to pick whatever it is you want. Then you go right click, inspect, and then you pick the thing that you want, the HTML, the DOM node that you want. So like for instance, I want that one. I then copy the whole element, and then I go make this into a markdown doc, and it does a brilliant damn job.
Nice work, sir.
Yeah.
Excellent. I had not thought of that. That is good.
And so here you can see that no, never mind. Give me a second, I need to catch my thoughts. The floor is yours. This is basically what's been shattering my brain, is this like jumping around between all these different things all the time, and like, ow, my head, I'm just constantly across multiple different things. Oh yeah, that's this process of doing this generation caused me to stumble upon another item I'd like to table, which is in the realm of context generation. We can table that at some later date. I have to go in exactly 25 minutes, and I cannot be late this time because I'm dying. I need to sleep.
Okay, we've got 25 minutes. Excellent. Okay. How do we best use those? I get what you're saying here. Unless there's anything new you want to bring into it, I'd like to bring you up to date with the things that I am tabling.
Okie dokie. First thing, just to check, am I doing the right thing by making I think I'm doing the fastest possible version of the CRM. Is that the right thing to be working on?
That remains your number one priority according to the commander, yes.
Yeah, but there's multiple different types of priority, like getting a tool out for you, like a fix to the transcriber.
Okay, so Speakeasy. I've got multiple paths to get the transcriber out, or to get transcription out. The transcriber seems to work 50% of the time. I still don't know why only 50% of the time. And sometimes it's even if I open a new tab, it works. So it's not our problem, it's YouTube's problem.
Yeah, so I learned that when you're that library looking at the issues that got discussed, YouTube blocks you by different things in different regions, and that's why you and I were having different experiences, because you're coming in from the UK, I'm coming in from Singapore, and it's like, oh, that's, it behaves differently. So I made the changes that they recommend in the issues, but I haven't pushed it up. I reckon I can get that out if I spent half an hour on it. Would you like me to do that? I think you might find it more reliable, or if it doesn't matter.
That would save me time, because if the transcriber doesn't work, then it involves moving to a different tool.
Right.
So maybe 30 minutes elapsed.
Okay. All right, I'll get that out for you then. While we're in Speakeasy, this is repeating, but showing a higher quality output of transcribing the OpenAI docs. And so I did a similar trick on that. But see, the issue where I have to spend individual time is when they put an image in, that won't do. Like the Concat can't deal with an image, so I always have to go back into O1 and get it to turn the image into some kind of an ASCII diagram. Often that can take 4, maybe 5 loops to get a good representation, because it's a little bit off sometimes, but generally speaking, that's what I've managed to do. And then I end up with these docs, and so it ends up with a set of docs that are bot friendly, right? Which is a kind of a new thing to be having, I suppose. So
Yeah, good. Uh, good.
yeah, right. And so here's like converting this diagram took me like 7 goes because it just couldn't get it. But then I had to come in and say, actually, make that a sequence diagram. And then the sequence diagram, it got it first pop. So there's a bit of an art to knowing what diagram you want. So yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So we're gonna. What do you want to do?
Try
End
to pull up
speakeasy and begin table.
yeah, end speakeasy, and we've got 21 minutes by my clock.
Okay. In your
So
table mode, you have the floor.
right. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 things to go through.
Oh, Christ.
Right. Actually, no, 6. We've already talked about transcriber, so that's that is done.
Okay.
Now, I've pushed a new version of the summarizer, which is in what I'm thinking about is very similar to what you've just talked about, in that if you give summaries for the bot to think about, as well as the raw to actually grind, then it gets much better results. And so the summarizer that I've just pushed identifies topics within the ingest, whatever it is, transcript is the one I'm doing, based on those latest transcripts. Sorry, I'm reading from a screen here, which is why I'm leaning up. I'm marking out the changes based on the context. So if you can pull up GitHub and look at Summarizer NAP, you see where I'm going. It's much smaller from my previous summarizers, but it seems to be it's almost like a pre-step to informing the commander about what's just happened, as opposed to just getting the commander to do the entire thing.
So what are you tabling here?
No, I'm reporting, not tabling. Reporting.
What? You said we were in tabling.
Okay, my apologies. This is just reporting, and
does the reporting cover the 6 things that you have to go over? It's 6 items to report on.
The things that I would like to table is the use of the attribution model, which I texted over, talking about how useful these conversations are, and what the I think it is a useful metric for attribution. And the second one is the use of longitudinal topics for the grinder. I'll think of a better name. So those are the 2 things.
So I'm confused now. What mode are we in right now?
I'd like to report, to bring you up to date, or to point out some things, and then I'd like to table those 2 things.
Okay. So carrying on in reporting mode, I'm in the. These are the 2 folders that you changed. One is the transcripts, and the other one is in the NAPS folder within reasoning.
Yep. Summarize
transcripts.
Yep. Now, first question is, given what we were previously talking about, saying we'll just use raw and summary, I've changed this name to NAP.
Yeah. So in that case, is there ever going to be a second or more files in here? Maybe.
It could be a README. There could be additional pointers and so on, but I don't foresee it at the moment. But yes,
is this an example of a prompt?
At the moment, all the NAPs I've got in there are basically prompts, except for I've stuck in effectively what are bash scripts.
And you're saying to me that what you want is you want to take this prompt and output a report in this format, and that's what the summarizer does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And while it's inside of naps/reasoning, then this is just for me to mess around with. And we've also got that move to one layer up, which is the actual naps.
What's the context? What's an example of context that you would give? Is that like,
Context
here's the
is
domain?
it's the output of the concat of the
Oh, I
files that
see.
we
Okay,
want to
yeah, I see.
consider.
Okay, awesome. Okay, cool.
So that's the first one.
I can't actually see how well this performs without running it myself, and going forwards, we would need to have some evals and some expectations around how to score it. And I think this is stalled while we wait on being able to have sysprompts that run in O1 Pro. And so I take it that my action from this is simply to acknowledge and comment, but no further code action is required.
Correct.
Okay.
Likewise with the commander, which is there. Yep. So I've reduced that, but again, it comes down to context, and here's the context is the concat, and in this case, the transcript is your input.
What's the difference between concat and input?
The input is not drawn from the existing state. It's new information.
So concat is the existing state. The transcript is the input, which is the fresh information. So that's okay, but the way I would prefer to receive that is that the new information was a file that was part of the context as well, because if you pass it in as input, it means it came in through the speech channel, and it's more elegant, in my opinion, to pass it in as a file and then talk about it rather than stuff it in as the input. Does that sound like you still get a good quality output from that?
Can I clarify? So the output from concat,
Yep,
and the new information as one single file.
One concat, because it's all context, and how I'm thinking about doing context, managing context in the Surface application that we have. It would be, first of all, the contents that you are trying to use as input would have come from the file system anyway. And so it's sort of like, I mean, are you asking me for a distinction where you're like, some files are considered background and this file is special in some way? Or do you think it would be sufficient if you just mentioned that file by name and supplied all the files?
I run some experiments and find out what the results are, but effectively, this new information, given the context and your instructions,
right,
what you're going to do.
Right. Okay. That's how I would prefer to receive the command. It feels nicer for me, but furthermore, I think the general direction of AI is such that the evals that you get from doing it one way or the other will eventually settle down or saturate at it's the same either way. And if it was going to be the same either way, then it's much easier to present it as just all context and you just mention that file in your chat. Does that sound reasonable?
It does. The aim that I'm trying to get here is for it to look at the new in the context of the old.
Yep.
But
run some experiments. Okay.
And find
awesome.
Out. Okay. So next one. And we've got 12 minutes left. Right. So we talked about Commander. It is going along the same model of context and input. the actual output can be modified and so on. That's all fine. The solutions are just like, again, to report. I have, but I have not yet committed a bunch of solutions from our previous transcription.
We had agreed that
producing-
they were called remedies. Why have they been renamed?
Because of my shitty memory, probably. Okay. I will change it to remedies.
Okay.
It's an empty folder at the moment, and just a live thread, so no biggie.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I'd like to table the idea of.
Hang on.
dynamic
Shouldn't I
generators.
I should get some questions, right?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Let me just think. Is this still providing the context as basically the whole folder, and you're just saying, "Hey, off you go" to the commander, as opposed to focusing the commander on a specific task and coming at it from multiple different angles, like give me all the new ideas, give me all the contradictions, give me all the task updates, give me all the whatever.
Currently, I give in the thread, because we don't have a system prompt, what would be a system prompt and will become a system prompt to the commander, and I'm saying give me new ideas, give me any updates to stocks that already exist.
But you do them in
Identify
separate clean threads, is that correct?
No, I do it as a single system prompt at the moment.
And you ask for all those things all at once.
Well, this to go back to what I was saying about overloading it, I've rolled it back to not doing the entire commander's job in one batch.
I think that I was trying to drive at that point. I still strongly believe in that architecture, that your performance will be superior, and I think this will hold no matter how good the models get. Your performance will be superior the more focused you can ask it to be. And I think that the focus needs to be correlated to a single file or folder that you're asking to be updated as a result. So you match one for one the task you give the commander, the update zone that you want to hit, the entire context of everything. But then you're like, this zone I want you to update, like all the stocks or all the definitions, or just this part of the Dreamcatcher AI definitions. When you treat the commander like that, that's when I think you'll get the best results. That's what I'm pushing for.
Okay, and I think that would be ideal. However, at the moment, so there are a number of outputs from the commander. Identify what needs to be changed in the existing stocks, identify any new stocks, identify any new solutions, and identify new priorities given the context of the transcript that you've just been given. Now, identifying new stocks and updating old stocks both need to be considered when identifying priority. So can I just clarify what you're saying is it will be better breaking commander down into each step, such as given this, identify what stocks need to be changed, and then take the output of that and effectively merge it, copy and paste it into another one in order to get the final. Okay. I think so. And eventually, obviously, that's going to be easier to do. Okay, good. All right. So, any other questions?
No further questions, sir.
On the next tabled idea, or on this tabled idea.
Commander, we table ideas.
I would like to consider and spend some time thinking about longitudinal topics because at the moment we're giving the commander
What's a longitudinal topic?
a topic that is progressed over time, as opposed to just the last transcript or the last 10 transcripts.
So a topic is a good example of a high value longitudinal topic, one that had been hinted at or skirted around or gestured at across multiple conversations, but the humans lacked the precision or the vision to be able to declare it exclusively or as a single topic. Is that the type of thing you're looking for?
Correct. And I would add in that now can be considered with the vertical transcript commander saying, you guys were talking about this thing last month, and you've been talking about it for the last 5 years, and here's the consequences of what you're doing.
It would seem beneficial to not just extract a longitudinal topic, but to point at it as a point of order that needs to be declared, because we have breakthroughs when we see the thing that we've gestured at for so long and we're like, oh, that's just how it is, and then we move on. So that would be a great candidate for a background thread or a batch processing job that just like grinds over like everything, right?
Exactly. I was trying to not use the word grinder, but that's what I've been calling it to this point. But that's effectively what it is. It's a longitudinal.
Oh, that's the piece you wanted to call grinder?
Yeah.
Yeah. Selfishly, I'd already used the word grinder for another part of the system, and it's also not a great term to be publicizing a lot, but the act of grinding is a recurring strategy that applies not only to longitudinal topic extraction, but to a great many other things, and that's why I'd argue that it's not a great name for the process of longitudinal topic extraction, but it's more a strategy that you'd go about it.
I'll come up with a new name. My question is this worth me spending some time doing now?
Okay, this is a scheduling thing. This is not part of tabling. Has the idea been totally tabled, and you feel like the concept has been stated clear enough that it can be recorded?
I'm tabling it in order to see whether I spend more than the 2 hours.
That was not my
I've spent on
question.
it.
That was not my question.
Second.
Has the idea been tabled sufficiently?
Do
I
you?
think you have an issue. You have a problem with distinguishing between the
is speakeasy.
tabling. No, this is not
Speakeasy.
speakeasy. This is in the middle of tabling, because I'm trying to see if tabling has finished or not. And I think that you actually have a problem in separating out the presentation of ideas with the discussion of the implementation or the execution of the idea.
Maybe there is a need for another commander mode to move between those. My question to you is: do you have any questions about how what I'm proposing? Is
No,
it
I
sufficiently
think
clear?
it's so long as you feel like I understood your idea and you didn't have any more insights to add as to how we would implement that, because the techniques to do that seem like a very lengthy study with many options, which I don't have immediate answers for you. So long as you weren't diving into that, then I feel like I get the idea completely.
Okay, good.
Okay, so tabling is complete.
Tabling is complete.
And now your
And,
scheduling question.
Well, no, because
Prioritizing question?
no, the scheduling will be down to prioritization by the commander, not us.
Am I allowed is it useful to have an opinion on it?
You can.
Hang on. What am I trying to add? I'm trying to add some information about what the necessary path to implementation is that can affect the priority due to increasing the cost. So at the moment, the process you're describing is a great process, but it is um, very human labor intensive to do without automation tooling. And that's if you knew exactly how to do it, but you don't know exactly how to do it, and so you have to experiment. And so you've got a very laborious process with many possible options, which equals labor squared, which is a bad use of labor right now, in my opinion, because if we labor on getting the automation platform up, then we can tackle this highly fruitful and lucrative area of longitudinal or background microwave noise topic extraction.
Okay, I agree, and I'd like to mark that as a solution. Um,
As a remedy.
uh, sorry, remedy. Damn it. Okay, good. So moving on because we've only got 1 minute left.
Right. It's like a remedy direction or something like that.
Remedy, yeah. Well, remedy doesn't need a nap, or yeah,
If
it
it
can
doesn't have
just
to
be
be
a
a full thing. Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and the last one is we don't have time for because we've only got 1 minute. But any thoughts on the attribution based on the information, new information, and old or regurgitated
Yeah.
information or placers for attribution?
Yeah, that's not attribution as such. That's metrics. And I think that's very valuable to have as a dashboard because you score it. I think your attribution is going to be independent of how concentrated your contribution was. What you're talking about is contribution measurement, which is not the same as attribution. Like you're talking about mechanisms by which we can increase the rate of contribution, which is an absolutely great thing to be into, and I'm all for it. And we should make dashboards that can give us these feedbacks live while we're talking. But that is not attribution.
I agree, and thank you. I propose that we make that a remedy, and we'll come back to it.
Okay.
That is time. You need to go. You cannot be late.
Thanks, buddy. I'll do the upload.